Hello everybody, today we have a great guest on the channel. We have a speaker, CEO, and the operating principal of Keller Williams over at Huntington Beach, California, my great friend Helen Dos Santos. So excited to have her here. Hey listen, Helen and I have an invigorating chat today on today's real estate industry, the grit it takes to make it in this industry, and the frameworks you need to succeed. This is a great interview, you don't want to miss it. Let's get straight to it.
This is my 20-year anniversary.
Really?
In July.
Have you enjoyed your real estate journey?
Loved it. Amazing. All the part. Ups and downs, right? Not easy. A lot of moving to the next level, a lot of uncomfortableness for sure. But so when you started, what did you see or look for in a new agent?
Well, back in '95, let me share with you, if you don't mind. I'll share with you how I felt about real estate. I thought it was a joke. I thought I can't do real estate. I had no sales experience. The only business experience I had was throwing newspapers when I was a wee boy. But when I got into real estate as a new agent, oh man, I got addicted to it. I mean, literally got addicted. I couldn't stop, and I had 3 kids.
Which part?
The whole thing, the researching of the properties. They would say, Rico, can you find me a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for under whatever amount?
Yeah.
I found that as a challenge, right? I personally, now I don't know how others who are new feel when they get into the real estate field, but I was like, wow, this is so neat, right? I get to control the research. I get to control, in a sense, sounds cheesy, my destiny, but that's from my point of view as a new agent. Now you as a leader, right? You as a leader and as owner of a brokerage, what do you look for in a new agent like I was back then? What are you looking for today in a new agent who comes knocking on your office door? It says, hello, Miss Helen Dos Santos. I'd like to work for your brokerage. What do you look for in a new agent?
I know. I think today's market, this is my 20-year anniversary, I'm going to answer that question differently. When I started, I thought this entrepreneurial environment, it didn't feel like taking the test really prepared a new agent, to know and do what the role of a realtor was. It felt like night and day. It felt like they were not prepared at all. Where I came from, if you were sitting in front of me, you had a resume, you had a skill set, and you had something that qualified you to be interviewing for any role or position. That's outside of real estate. So I learned very quickly that the opportunities, the environment of no lid, you didn't have to have a background or a college degree, which a lot of people do, by the way. There are a lot of qualified, really highly smart leaders in our industry. And the agents that joined, I noticed really quick, the demand has changed for an agent today versus 20 years ago. Technology has sped up everything, and the standard and expectations to keep up with the county, the city laws, right? The contractual. This year we were hit with another adjustment. Our residential purchase agreement is growing, and that process isn't changing. So for an agent who gets licensed, they think they're going to sell real estate, and then they come in and understand that they have to know about marketing. They need to go tour and know about the product, the different tracks, interior designing, staging, what sells a property, not to mention all the tools and technology that they need to do the research and development, right, on pulling comps. That whole process, in addition to that, being in an environment where they're independent contractors and they have no lid. Every day they wake up with the same opportunity, and yet do they have the mindset, the skill set? Do they have, the detail oriented that they may need to do, put together the offer, the comps are. So there's a lot that. So, but that being said, you just gave me a whole bunch of stuff that a new agent has to tackle, right? They have to know all this stuff, technology, marketing, they're an independent contractor. So whatever they make, it'll be based on their efforts and how, their production, their own personal production. What do you tell them that? So you have a new agent in front of you, right? Again, you're a brokerage owner and a leader. What do you tell them? I mean, it almost sounds standoffish or scary. It sounds challenging. Like, should I as a new agent be getting involved in this? Right.
Now, I know you are a very optimistic person. What do you tell these people when you explain to them what this career entails?
Well, for me, I chose to leverage a training and consulting company, the #1 real estate company, largest real estate network in the world. We have all of the tools. I don't have to guess. So we have the only real estate specific career visioning hiring process. So I don't have to wonder. They take our assessment and we line them up and match them with 51 opportunities and positions within the real estate industry. So someone can come in and be administrative assistant. They could run a team. They could be a mega agent. They could be a buyer's agent. There are many roles within my organization. So I think for me, learning on that journey and diving in environment where a new licensee, they shouldn't have to guess if they're a match to that.
Let's talk about environment. What do you mean by environment?
Well, I'm a firm believer that, what's that saying? Your closest five, you're a reflection of who you hang out with.
Are you talking about the energy in the brokerage? Could that be also
Absolutely.
your environment?
Absolutely.
The vibe, I like calling it the vibe. Doesn't it sound cool? V-I-B-E, I love that word, the vibe. I actually tell new agents, when you go into a brokerage to interview, remember, you are an independent contractor, so you got to feel the vibe. You'll be hanging around with these people many hours of the day.
Correct.
All right?
So for me, in my journey, I've put myself in the environment that I'm going to thrive, which, by the way, in our assessment, right, it breaks that down. So when I go to hire employees or hire agents, I'm really looking for like-minded people. You know, the people that have grit. And you're correct, that energy and vibe of your environment, know thyself. And so our tools and training are all geared around not only personal development, but leadership development. So whatever role they're a fit with, I love being able to connect the right people to the right opportunity.
Got it. Listen, I'm not familiar with marketing, and I wasn't when I was a new agent. I'm not familiar with creating my empire, my business empire. What does your brokerage do? And I'll mention it, Keller Williams. What does Keller Williams do in their training to support my business, to allow me to be comfortable in marketing, to allow me to be comfortable in contracts, to allow me to be comfortable in all aspects of the real estate career? What is the training all about?
Well, each office independently owned and operated.
Okay.
Right? And for me, it's a turnkey leverage as being an owner. I'm the managing partner, one of a few investors. And we built our own proprietary technology, the tools to implement the business. I mean, we wrote the book. So going back to the question on a new licensee, if someone comes to me or one of your new licensees, if they're taking their test, I would say go read page 133 to 152 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Go read that and know that as a new licensee, that's your job. And by the way, you should have a budget, right, of at least $5,000 to invest in the first few months. And depending on their lead sources, that's why going back 20 years ago, the lead sources available, they're all the same today, except they have opened up and have gone wider now, like with social media and internet. And I see a lot of agents spinning their wheels, trying to put their money into getting business, when the fact is their family, their friends, the database, that's still 20 years ago and still true today. When you look at NAR, CAR stats, the biggest lead source for all agents is their referrals, their past clients.
You brought up database. Now, database is created via prospecting, right? So prospecting is the name of the game, in my opinion, when it comes to real estate. Prospecting, prospecting, prospecting. The training that you guys provide, does that teach them how to prospect? Because prospecting can be a little nerve-wracking for somebody who's new and somebody who's not a people person, right?
Yeah.
Can we teach somebody to prospect? And is it easier to prospect today than it was 20 years ago?
I think that it depends on the person that's across from you. Okay. I have seen people do things that I never thought that they would do, and that was a long time ago. I've learned because of my environment, I don't have any limited beliefs. Don't box people in. And yes, our curriculum, we're the only real estate company with its own university. Our agents, our Ignite program, anyone who does not do 16 transactions a year. And it's built into a daily habit. The modules are very specific. Our writers are writing from and networking from education inside and outside of real estate. So you are correct. Our training, you learn about the role, but our training walks you through getting into the daily habit and getting comfortable with having the conversations that you've never had before.
Yeah, and I think being comfortable is crucial. I think when you're comfortable, you become confident. And when you become confident, you go out and kick the world's ass. I think it's important to be comfortable.
I would agree. And I would also say, fast forward in today's market, it's prospecting based all the way. In today's market, where there's less transactions, it's every agent needs to be more prospecting based. And that means intentional, whether you're calling your database, you're out at events, marketing enhanced, prospecting based is what we call it. Agents prior to this market could be marketing based and prospecting enhanced.
Back when I started, the computers were just coming out, so we had to do a lot of print advertising. Back then we had this very flimsy magazine called The Penny Saver. I don't know if you remember that, The Penny Saver.
Yes.
And you paid a couple of bucks to put an ad in there. A small little square ad in the classified ad saying, hey, pick me, I'm a good realtor. It was a lot different. We had to hit the pavement, man. We had to go door knocking all the time, right? I would make flyers. And I would go put them out on car windshields. I mean, the old-fashioned stuff. I would literally hit the pavement in the heat or cold and say, I got to get the word out there. But it's a lot different now, isn't it?
Right.
How different is it now? What do you think? What can they do now that they don't have to really so much hit the pavement or even leave their house?
Right. Well, now fast forward.
Fast forward.
All right. In addition to that, instead of, I do remember the Penny Saver, by the way, that was hilarious. Now fast forward. Now we have influencers. We have the internet and social media. And with dynamic targeting, social media and marketing, you can put out whatever message that you want to whatever group. Your geographical farm, your database. It could be people in a certain, age group. I mean, there are a lot of people that are out there marketing and doing business that way.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we get...
No penny saver.
Yeah, no penny saver. But you know what? You brought up a good point. There is a lot of people out there. There are a lot of people out there who need our real estate services. I always feel the title company could substantially help with that. Are you familiar with how the title company can help?
Absolutely.
Is it important to get to know people in the title industry?
Any new agent that I get in front of, there are 26 people that get paid on a transaction.
Is that a stat?
That's a stat.
Wow.
The last time I checked.
I never thought about it. You're probably right.
There are 26 different people that get paid on one transaction. And the agent is the one that procures that.
Right. In the sense the agent drives the bus. Who's on board? Tell me. Do you know who's on board of the bus? On my bus?
On your bus? Oh, I definitely...
On the transaction bus.
Correct. I am not going and spitballing all of those.
Give me a few.
However, you have, home inspectors, home warranty, right? You have title, you have escrow, transaction coordinator. I mean, on and up, mortgage, right? And then the mortgage have underwriters and all of it. So it's a long list.
Yeah, it is.
It is. And who you're in business with matters, going back to environment.
Oh, I like that. Who you're in business with matters. Okay.
One personal model that I have followed since I was a kid, and I have taken this throughout my life, failing forward the whole way, by the way, and that is I've always sought to surround myself with the best, no matter who it was, no matter what I was doing, whether it was school, whether it was me wanting to learn something. I used to play sports, play darts, and I would walk into a room and say, who is the smartest person in the room, or who is the best? Well, when I got into real estate 20 years ago, I walked into a room of about 5,000 people. And I asked myself that question. I was new, I was in my first year, came in a leadership role. I did the accounting, finance, and ran the operations for a local real estate office. And the answer to that question, I was listening to Gary Keller. And that was 20 years ago. And I have followed him ever since, because when I take a wide view of this industry, every year I would get in that room and this guy was on point, calling it before it ever happened. Just visionary. So going back to the environment and who's on your team, surround yourself by the best. Even if you don't know, even if you're not comfortable, you don't know, even if you don't have the confidence, even if you have all the confidence in the world, right? Don't allow a low-level ego energy, right, get in your way, because environment matters.
And this goes for brand new agents. Brand new agents, again, are running their own business.
Correct.
So they have to surround themselves with the best escrow company, the best brokerage, the best
Title, mortgage, and all of those vendors and reps, they have a ton of resources and a value add for agents, which for agents and new licensees can be very overwhelming because they don't know what they don't know yet. They haven't even gone into a transaction.
Right. So let's talk about one of the resources the title company gives an agent. Do you know what they give?
Oh, for sure. One title, I would say one product that really stands out for me that I always refer all of my agents to, and that is their proprietary tools, where they will help you break down a farm area. You know, they have their own tools and technology as well. They have access to break down a farm by how long someone is owned, right? Finding value and equity. So that way they can have more specific, intelligent conversations with the right audience rather than being so broad. Right. So that would be one.
Right, and that's a great, I'm glad you brought that up, because the title company allows us to create a strategy as a new agent. We have a strategy now. They're gonna give me a pile of information that says this person has lived here for so many years, they bought this house back in 1974 or whatnot.
Right.
They give me the name, the square footage, everything I need to know, so when I do knock on their door, you're right. It's like I've already known them. Yeah. They're gonna say, wow, how the hell did you know that? And I, as a new agent, can say, well, I did my research, sir, and I understand you've been here for 50 years or whatnot.
Right.
It's a great tool. They give us so many great tools.
And the new agent, that's for them. Now, the agents, your really top producing agents, guess what? They already know that info. They don't even need a title rep.
Right.
That's how well they're, ingrained into their community. Right. And how well they do their business.
Right. But going back to surround yourself with the best, a really great title company would even give classes, right? They give classes for nothing, for free. Yeah. So if you're a new agent, you can attend these classes and they'll let you know, like you were bringing up farming, they'll allow you to understand this is how farming works, right. And they break it down. You might want to get this, 1 mile by 1 mile area and hit it there. And it's a fantastic tool. I remember how valuable they are.
They are. And so in our office, because we're a training and consulting company, we have curriculum for an agent who closes anything from new to up to 16. And then we have a curriculum from 16 to 36 transactions. That's our growth, the agents that now know what to do. Now they want to do more of it. And then we have agents, curriculum for agents in our achievement that are for 36 or more.
So you have a new agent. We discussed every skill set that we hope they have, right? And whatever they don't have, you have the training for them, right? They got a support cast. They're going to be surrounded by the best of the best. I believe you could provide a new agent with everything. It doesn't mean they're going to perform. It doesn't mean they're going to be productive, right? We could make them shine. We could tell them how to dress. We could tell them how to speak. We could teach them the real estate lingo, how to do contracts. But if they aren't ready down deep in their soul to put all that into action, then there's no success. And I believe mindset is often overlooked. We teach and we teach and we teach, but we don't really understand what the individual, the new agent,
right,
is ready to do. We know what they can do, but are they ready to put it into action? Right. What's your take on mindset? How important is mindset when it comes to getting involved in this doggone career?
Oh, it's everything. So much so that, again, in my world, everything is intentional and on purpose. So in our curriculum, it's really interesting. Every class starts out with what we call as the 6 personal perspectives. And the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the first 114 pages, all dedicated to mindset. That's how important mindset is. 9 ways a top agent thinks. So for me, bringing people or new agents or experienced agents into our environment, mindset is in every class and curriculum that we have. That's how important it is.
So it has to be strong. So I have this acronym that I like to use personally. It's called MAD, M-A-D. I get mad, meaning get motivated, stay active, and you got to have the discipline, right?
Right.
Motivate, action, active, and
Right.
discipline. How does one stay disciplined with that mindset? How does the mind say, you got to do this today, you got to do it tomorrow, you got to do it 5 days in a row, you got to make 20 calls within the next couple hours?
Right.
How does the mind think? How do you convince yourself? Yeah, let's do this. How do you do it? How do we create a mindset of power?
How do we get ourselves to do something that we don't feel like doing?
Or why is it that when I started,
Right?
it was easy for me? I was addicted to real estate. I was addicted. How do we distinguish those who we have to convince them it's a good choice, you got to go out and do this, and others have it naturally inborn, right? It's in their DNA.
I don't listen to what people say. I watch what they do.
Right.
And so how they're going to show up. Do people say and then go do what they say? That's been my journey, even my own personal journey. Honoring my word, I think mindset. Again, our environment, we are learning and reading. It's what we do. It's who we are. And we also sell real estate. 1 out of every 5 transactions closed in the U.S. is done by a Keller Williams agent. But for me, I have learned and watched. I've transitioned in over 800 agents in my career. And that was my job, to transition them in, help them get acclimated and get plugged in to our model and system. You know what? When I walk into an office and I see a new agent, they don't know what they're doing, but they're there showing up. They pull their laptop up. They're asking questions, right? They're applying themselves. They're attending. I'm like, It is when I see people meeting, coming halfway, I will meet people. In fact, we go over and beyond for people like that.
Is there a way to measure passion? Now we can measure somebody's skill set.
Right?
They could do it well, they could do it poorly.
Right?
How do you measure somebody's passion? Let's assume somebody doesn't have quite a good skill set yet, but you could train it.
Right?
Can you train passion?
You can't teach motivation.
No?
That's what I have found.
Okay.
I think in environment, I think maturity, right? I believe that people can change, right? Your thoughts, our beliefs, we're at the lid of what our beliefs are. So if I have someone that comes in and they are confident and they have their belief and their say, I do this all the time. You do the interview, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
And they talk a big game, they do all of this. For me, they're just being visionary. They're connecting to what they want, and they're able to articulate that.
Right.
And then they're sitting across from you, and then you hire, and then they're even willing to pay, right, money, and bet on themselves. They get all signed up, and then 3 weeks later, you never see them. They already start falling off.
Right.
So for me, it's really just acceptance that if you provide the right environment, you have models and systems, right, to lean back on in the foundation. And you provide an environment that is inspiring, right, showing them where they could be. And that if Robert can do it, right, and Rick can do it, and John over there can do it, then why can't I? Right. And yet, I always look, right, to watch the actions. And for me, I don't know about actually how our other competitors, they've been doing it for years and they have great value propositions that contribute a lot to their industry. However, I don't have to guess. I have the career visioning. I have the tools to take agents and connect them into roles. So it is an interesting journey that, I'll give you an example. We have agents. I love real estate, Helen. I love showing property, the whole process, even you, right? Doing the comps and researching, and they love delivering that key, right? To the number one dream, statistically, right? The American dream, home ownership. And yet, page 133 to 152 in that book, their job is to lead generate. They're an independent contractor.
Right.
It's not an employee environment, although we do have competitors have made it an employee position out of it. So our environment, there are so many roles and opportunities in real estate that you can come into real estate thinking that you want to sell real estate, and then you go through the training, and then it turns out, you know what? I just want to show property, right? You know what? Actually, I'm very detail oriented, and the contract, I love that process. So for me in my journey, I looked at all opportunities and I saw the blind spot of wanting to support top producing agents because that sales, the DISC, the DISC, you know, that high Ds or DCs, they're really set and motivated. They love going and getting the business. They love the hunt, right? And just like you, they love the negotiating part of the transaction. And they learn that if they could just get rid of this other stuff, right, and just get to focus on this, wow, they would, right, have no lid.
Now, you brought up top producers, right? And you like to support top producers, which is fantastic. There was a time, and I'm not sure if this statistic is still real, where 20% of the agents made 80% of the business, right? There was a time when that was true, and it might be the same. I don't know, it might be slightly different, but that's a pretty high mark. That only this amount of people, this amount of agents do this amount of business.
Right.
That's incredible. What do you think they attribute their success to? How do they do that? Because you've worked with a lot of top producers.
Right.
And I wanted this answer from Helen Dos Santos to be hopefully targeted towards the mindset. I'm hoping the mindset comes into play. Aside from skill set, is there a relationship between mindset and being a top producer?
Absolutely, I think so. Yeah. I mean, a skill set you can learn. Someone can learn sales, right?
Right.
Yeah, they can learn that.
So what do you think the
grit,
top producer?
They have the grit.
And you said that before.
They're willing
I like
to
that.
do what other people are not.
Right, but you said that at the beginning of this conversation. You brought up the word grit, and I was going to stop you there because I love that word grit. What do you mean by grit?
They're willing to do what everyone else is not.
Give me an example.
Picking up the phone and calling someone you don't know.
Ooh, I don't know.
Feeling confident enough, right, of knowing that leading, asking questions. Having the confidence in knowing that they understand and know they serve and are value to their community. Uh-huh. What they have is a value. They're providing a professional service. I love it when I get around agents who are not transactional based. They're in it for the long game. They want to be the real estate planner for generations. I love that. And going back, grit, people who do what they don't feel like. When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like getting out of bed.
Grit and discipline go together then, hand in hand.
Absolutely.
I'm doing this over and over. Nobody else wants to do it. I'll take care of business. It's a new agent. They want to create business, of course.
Yeah.
They're out with their family. It's their 10-year-old daughter's birthday. Their phone rings. The agent's phone rings, and they're amongst family and daughter and cake there at the restaurant.
Right.
Should they pick it up? Should they pick up the phone? Good question, huh?
Ooh.
And there is no right or wrong answer. I'm just wondering what a new agent should do.
Well, let me tell you, this is what I see. Agents who are self-employed. Do you know Robert Kiyosaki's 4 quadrants?
I do not.
Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. So It depends on the agent. If the agent is not in control of their business and they're not in control of their income, their self-employed mindset will probably pick up that phone.
Got it.
They will excuse themselves and they will pick up that phone. And they're very dedicated to their client. And they will tell you, right, that as problems arise 24/7, some agents, right, they feel that it's their duty to do that. A lot of professional people do that. And then you have agents that are over here on the other side of the quadrant that think like a business owner in business. And that's where they probably have leverage. They may take the call, but they're pushing it off to someone else. Or they have boundaries within their hours.
So picking up the phone in front of family at the beginning of a real estate career, that could probably go into the category of grit, meaning, although you don't want to pick it up because you're with family, you might have to, bite the bullet sometimes and do things they don't want you to do. The family might be saying, don't pick up the phone, Dad, come on, you're here with me, but you might have to do things that you typically wouldn't, but it's part of the game, right?
They're going to find most agents are going to pick up the phone, yes.
Right. I remember.
One thing that I always loved talking to agents, and that was, let's talk about the listing side versus buy side. If you are the listing agent, it takes you less amount of hours to close that deal. The buyer's agent is working more hours. They have less control. So if I'm at home on a Sunday barbecuing with my family, right, and the buyer's agent is out showing property and submitting an offer, I could still be barbecuing with my family and get back to that offer, right, that night or first thing in the morning, however I see fit.
So I'm glad you brought that up. A buyer's agent and a listing agent. You're right. The listing agent has more time available to do what they want to do. Because a listing agent doesn't have to be out in the street, right? Typically, right? A listing agent could be at their home or at their office,
right?
And they're receiving offers, which is a fantastic thing for a listing agent.
Right.
A buyer's agent has to be out in the field, out in the car, open up doors, making offers. It's a lot more strenuous, I guess, for a buyer. And some people might not agree with that, saying that the listing agent does just as much, same amount of work as a buyer's agent. But it's I guess the management of time.
They have more control over their time.
A listing agent does. However,
they also have more control over their income.
Right, exactly. However, I want to make sure I make a point here for those who are watching. To be a buyer's agent or a listing agent is still a very lucrative paycheck, right? Typically, it's the same amount of money coming in, right? Let's assume the commission on the total sale of a property is $100,000. Typically, it would be $50,000 to the buyer's agent and $50,000 to the listing agent. So those who are watching, I want them to understand.
Right.
I used to love being a buyer's agent. Mind you, you got to put gas in the car, you got to get dressed, you got to smell good, look good, hair's got to look good, you got to go out, you got to show property, you got to go back to your office, you got to make your client a cup of coffee, you got to make an offer. Sure, it's a little bit more work, but $50,000, I'll do it. So it's a very lucrative career if you want to be a buyer's agent.
Right.
Let me ask another great question that we typically get from our audience. They a lot of people are switching careers or thinking about switching careers, right? They've been doing something for so many years.
Right.
And now they finally say, I think I want to do real estate, a brand new career. And they're a little nervous about it. They're like, I don't know if I could do this.
Right.
Right? What can you share with them to say, go for it? It's there for you for the taking.
A lot of agents that I have seen over the years not wanting to take that leap or being afraid. One, put money aside. Make sure you have at least 3 or 4 months of your personal expenses covered, mortgage and those expenses. And again, going through and doing a personal assessment though, when you know thyself, like if you're someone who needs security, then they're probably gonna want 6 months. So it's kind of a personal, that's why plugging into a brokerage is so important that sees and has a system of onboarding that customizes. So Robert, you're not a detailed person, right? You're a driver, you're an influencer. I would ask you a few simple questions. So how much money do you have set aside? How long can you go? Can you do it part-time or full-time? right? You go through the curriculum, and again, a very intentional, driven curriculum that has you doing the activity as you're learning. To me, that's golden, because they're going to learn during that process how comfortable that they are with taking the jump. I've had people that never actually, they love their career, they've put a lot of time into it, and they just do 3 or 4 deals a year because they love to do it. And yes, they're included in that. It's their family and friends. And then some point, right, in the future, maybe they're looking to retire and they think, I don't want to retire, but they retire in doing real estate full time. Right. So for me, it's a personal thing. It depends on the person in front of you. If I have seen a lot of successful agents that are not high drivers, right? They're very detail oriented, and they've come into real estate and killed it because they had they didn't need to be taught motivation, right? They did what they said they were going to do. They showed up every day. And if you have models and systems in the environment and show someone exactly what they need to do, they'll go execute it. It's really know thyself. It depends on that person.
Right. And you brought up, agents who just do 3-4 deals a year. A part-time agent. I'll call that a part-time agent who really do enjoy their actual career, right? Their career that they've been at for years and years and years, and they only want to dabble in real estate, like you said, do a deal every quarter, right? Do 3-4 deals a year. That's okay. In my opinion, that's fine, because their actual career, their regular job gives them the stability of health insurance for their family, right? And just stability in general.
Correct.
Yet, if you close one deal every quarter, depending on where you live, if you live here in the LA metropolitan area, you're looking at $25,000, $30,000 paychecks, right?
Right.
You do 3-4 of those a year.
But here's also what I've learned. Not everybody wants to make $500,000 a year in real estate. Right? So going back to the career visioning, the hiring process, I just did this with an agent already in my office who is, he's kind of in between, a fork in the road of where he wants to go. What are next steps? And so I did an exercise with him called Future Self. And so everyone, I have learned, not everyone wants to do 100 transactions a year. Not everybody wants to make $500,000 a year. And so asking questions about who's in front of you, what are your goals? What are you looking to get out of real estate? What is their family dynamic? Some people, their husband or their wife, right, is the breadwinner, or they get into real estate for different reasons. And so knowing those reasons and just supporting them in their goal. I have agents in my office, we have a production standard in our office. And our goal is to get you into, production, is to be trained. You need to be trained very well doing what we're doing, right? You're dealing with the people's largest assets that they owned. And just understanding, asking them, what are your goals? What do you want to get at to it? What is your income goal? And by the way, how committed are you to that? Because you're an independent contractor, right? I'm not going to call you every day to make sure you're in the office at 9.
Let's talk about the 3 things you as a leader of a brokerage. Just give me 3 things that you look for in an agent who's sitting in front of you. Somebody who wants to work for you, work with you.
Right. They have money set aside. They want to do it full time. They want to do it full time. And they see value in training and education. The other thing, they're willing to be uncomfortable. Yes. They want to be better today than they were yesterday, and they're willing to go all in on themselves.
Nice. To become the best.
To be their best version.
Now, speaking of the best, you brought up surrounding yourself with the best, right? I'm going to wrap this up with this. I want to ask you a question. This would be the creme de la creme, the grand finale, the big enchilada. You've been around a lot of agents throughout your years, your 20 years of real estate, right? You've observed successes with other agents, and you've observed agents who've left the industry because they just can't cut it, right? You just weren't into it. It just unfortunately didn't happen. What have you observed that you would consider from the top agents the formula to success?
I'm gonna say this, and it's one of the things that I value the most in our industry and watching the top people. What do they all have in common? Their client comes first. When all is said and done, all of their work that backs in everything that they do, because we see it internally in the office, they run in and they have fires to put out. They put their client first. And so they back everything into their systems, their processes, the way that they approach, the research, everything. They put their client first. They have high standards. They want to put their best foot forward. They're very learning based. They're very learning based. They enjoy going to masterminds. They swap information. Some of them have egos, but not from a low energy standpoint. And they're willing to do their best, even when they don't even feel like it.
Oh, it becomes natural to them.
Well, yeah, they understand it's not natural. Some days you're gonna wake up. One of my great friends, we talk about this all the time. And that is, there are a lot of people that do what they feel like doing, and that's not always, going to get them to goal. When I'm on Instagram or something, and the trainers that come up and they're talking and telling stories, and I hear all the time, they're like, do you think I want to get up at 4 a.m. every day to work out? No, but they do it because discipline, putting themselves, they have their own reasons. Going back to real estate, yeah, that's what the top people have in common. Those are the people that I love hanging out with and that I've had the honor and pleasure of learning from over the 20 years that I've been doing this.
Right. Congratulations on 20 years.
Thank
you. You so much for coming in. We appreciate your time, and I'm glad you gave us all this fantastic information. I'm sure the viewers can use it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.